In the quiet outskirts of Santa Fe, New Mexico, a mystery has emerged that challenges everything we thought we knew about fate and tragedy. The sudden deaths of famed actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, have shocked not only the entertainment world, but anyone who values a life of quiet dignity. What happened behind the closed doors of their secluded home isn't simply a tale of natural decline. It's a story laced with eerie coincidences, unanswered questions, and hints of deliberate misdirection. Today, we peel back the layers of this perplexing case, inviting you to question whether this was a cruel twist of fate or something far more sinister. On a frosty morning in late February, authorities arrived at the unassuming residence of Gene Hackman, a once celebrated icon who had long retreated from the relentless glare of Hollywood's spotlight. The neighborhood, accustomed to the soft rhythms of daily life, was shaken to its core as officials confirmed that both Gene and Betsy were dead. Official reports cited heart disease, compounded by the ravages of Alzheimer's, as the cause for Gene's demise, while Betsy was attributed to an unusually rare hantavirus infection, contracted supposedly from rodent exposure. Yet as details emerged, the official narrative began to unravel. How could a man reputedly suffering from severe cognitive decline have managed to navigate his daily life with enough clarity to leave behind such puzzling clues? And why did Betsy, known for her active and engaging personality, suddenly fall victim to an infection that defied the apparent safety of her well-maintained home? Even as condolences poured in from Hollywood's old guard, a lingering tension persisted, a whisper that perhaps this tragedy was not as natural as it seemed. As investigators pieced together the final days of the couple's lives, one element stood out like a deafening silence. In the days leading up to their discovery, both Gene and Betsy had withdrawn into an unnerving isolation. Neighbors recalled nothing unusual, no frantic calls for help, no bursts of conversation through the windows, nothing to suggest that something was amiss. In a perplexing twist, while Betsy's condition appeared to have deteriorated dramatically, her last known activity included a brief visit to a local pharmacy. Yet, following that encounter, all lines of communication went eerily quiet. Gene, despite his reported Alzheimer's, apparently managed to function on his own for an entire week after Betsy's presumed passing, leaving behind a trail of inexplicable calm in a home that suddenly felt less like a sanctuary and more like a locked chamber of secrets. How could a man in his condition survive without reaching out for help? And why did the silence stretch out so relentlessly, leaving investigators with more questions than answers? Among the many unsettling details that emerged during the investigation, one discovery sent shivers down the spines of the detectives: the fate of Xena, the couple's small, once-cherished dog. Xena, who had recently undergone a delicate surgery, was found lifeless in a cramped closet, a place where no pet should ever be confined, especially one in need of care. The scene was as baffling as it was heartbreaking. The couple's other two dogs, Bear and Nikita, were alive, yet their behavior was a mix of fear and confusion, as if they too sensed that something was horribly wrong. It wasn't just the fact of Xena's untimely death that raised alarms. It was the manner in which it occurred. How could a creature, barely able to fend for itself after a recent operation, be abandoned to a fate sealed behind a closed door? Was this a deliberate act intended to silence a witness, or merely a tragic oversight in a day already marked by inexplicable loss? The unanswered questions about Xena's final moments only deepened the mystery of the Hackman household. In today's digital age, our phones are our constant companions, bearing silent witness to our daily lives. Yet in the case of Betsy Arakawa, her cell phone became a critical enigma. Surveillance footage confirmed that on February 11th, Betsy made a routine trip to a local pharmacy, where she purchased cold medicine and other essentials, a seemingly normal act on an otherwise ordinary day. However, after that brief encounter, her phone's activity abruptly ceased. No texts, no emergency calls, no hints of a frantic search for help. Then, in a surprising twist, records later showed a brief, truncated call made on February 12th to a local medical concierge service. This mysterious interruption in an otherwise dead silence raises a stark question. Did Betsy sense danger or uncover a secret that compelled her to reach out, only to be cut off before she could explain herself? Was her sudden inability, or unwillingness, to communicate a symptom of a deeper crisis within the household, or an intentional ploy to hide the truth behind her final moments? The digital footprints left on her device suggest that her story might be far more complex than anyone had dared to imagine. Gene Hackman's final resting place was found in an unassuming mudroom, a transitional space between the house and the outside world. There, his body lay undisturbed, a picture of eerie stillness that defied the chaos of what must have been his final moments. His sunglasses, his familiar walking stick, every personal item was positioned with an unsettling neatness. The room itself bore no signs of forced entry, nor any evidence of a struggle that one would expect from a sudden fall or a violent encounter. Instead, everything seemed almost too orderly, as if someone had meticulously arranged the scene. The locked front door and the pristine condition of the room painted a portrait of isolation that was as baffling as it was chilling. Was this a case of a natural, albeit tragic, accident, a sudden heart attack or a fall induced by a momentary lapse? Or was it the work of someone who manipulated the scene so perfectly that even the most astute investigators would be left questioning the obvious? The clues here are subtle, but each one hints at the possibility that there was a calculated effort to cover up the true circumstances of Hackman's death. As the investigation deepens, the threads of this tangled narrative refuse to tie up neatly. There are too many unanswered questions, too many gaps in the timeline and details that defy logical explanation. Despite official reports stating that Gene Hackman died of heart disease after a week of disorientation, and that Betsy Arakawa succumbed to a rare hantavirus, discrepancies persist. The silence that engulfed the home, the digital void on Betsy's phone, and the unnerving scene of Xena locked away all point to an unsettling possibility: that someone or something was at work behind the facade of a tragic accident. The police continue to probe every anomaly, from the unexplained gap in the security footage on that critical day to the meticulous arrangement of the locked room where Hackman was found. Each discovery forces us to ask, was this simply a series of unfortunate events, or did a darker, more calculated force intervene? And as more evidence surfaces, one must wonder whether powerful interests or hidden agendas are at play, deliberately obscuring the truth to keep the full story from emerging. The investigation remains open, with every new piece of evidence fanning the flames of public curiosity and fear. In the end, the mystery of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths is a labyrinth of half-truths and unanswered questions. Each chapter of their final days offers a glimpse into a story that is as compelling as it is confounding, a narrative where the line between natural demise and orchestrated cover-up blurs into a fog of suspicion and speculation. As we follow the trail of clues left behind in that silent house, we are left with one undeniable truth. Some stories are too complex to be confined by simple explanations. The unanswered questions beckon us to look deeper, to challenge the official narrative, and to keep asking, what really happened behind those locked doors? And perhaps, in the pursuit of the truth, we might just uncover a secret that shakes the very foundations of what we think we know about fate, loss, and the dark corridors of human intrigue. Stay tuned as the investigation unfolds and join the conversation, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.